Welcome back to How to Barbecue Right. I'm Malcolm Reed. Today I got my buddy Heath Riles here from Heath Riles Barbecue. Heath, what's happening, man?
How are you, brother?
Look, I'm fixing to learn a competition recipe. He's been Rib Team of the Year for the past 4 years in the MBN. This year, you're back in the lead 5 years in a row, and you're gonna show me how to cook an MBN-style competition rib, right?
I hope so.
All right, I just wanna know the flavors and the secret recipes. That's all I want. I noticed you don't have any killer hog stuff out here. That's okay.
Well, I didn't want to give away all my secrets.
All right. Well, Heath, tell us a little bit of what kind of ribs you got, what we're gonna be doing.
These are Cheshire pork ribs from Heritage Farms in North Carolina, and it's a really, really good, all-natural, organic raised pork.
I'm excited about trying. I've never tried any of the Cheshire, so I'm gonna go on the other side of the counter. He's gonna get ready. We're gonna prep these ribs. He's gonna take us through all the steps. Let's get to cooking.
All I did was take them out of the pack and kind of cut the ends off of them, and maybe if they're running at a little bit of an angle, you square them up a little bit, but these right here did not need much at all.
Pull the membranes off the back.
Pull the membranes off the back, made it really simple, really easy. Start under one end with a knife or your thumb. I use my thumb a lot to get on the edge, and then take a paper towel and peel it right off.
So these are St. Louis cut ribs. In MBN, I know a lot of times you'll do the baby back ribs or loin backs, but eating them at home, I like to eat the St. Louis.
I do too. I want a nice meaty rib, and so I'm gonna give you the same recipe that I use for competition on these St. Louis ribs, and this is actually what I use on the KCBS side when I'm cooking.
Oh, cool. What's the first step in the process?
Well, you know, as we like to use a binder on our ribs. I prefer mustard. Some people use peanut oil or regular oil. You know, it don't take a lot.
Just plain yellow, right?
Just plain yellow mustard. And you know, they say this is kind of a Memphis thing.
I know I use mustard as a binder. I've cooked it without. I mean, I can't tell a huge difference. Can you?
My wife, she's kind of stayed on me, and like when she hadn't went with me to a competition and I just was lazy and didn't do the mustard on there because like you said, I couldn't tell much of a difference anyway. I didn't hit in ribs, and every time I use mustard, it seems like I've done real well with ribs.
Stick with that mustard.
So now I start with a little bit of light layer of my garlic jalapeno rub. It's not gonna be something that's gonna overwhelm you. It's just gonna have a little bit of heat on the back end. And now I come back after I put the garlic jalapeno rub on real lightly, and I come back with a layer of my pecan rub. Just kind of a medium coat. The last layer that I put on is my honey rub. And I started using my honey rub typically just for the color and a little bit of sweetness that I get from it, because it puts off a really unique color. You see how light that color is?
Yeah, it's almost like a brown sugar tone. Yeah. It's just light.
And then I just kind of come back and press it in a little bit.
Same treatment on both sides?
Same treatment on both sides.
Garlic jalapeno, the pecan, and then the honey. Mm-hmm. Gotta have that honey for the money, right?
Honey for the money, that's it. Honey for the money.
But you're building layers, and that's what I like to do too. Same thing.
It's all about layers of flavor.
Now I get this question all the time, and I'm gonna ask you, you ever mix them all and just put one coat?
Mixing everything in equal parts is fine, except for the garlic jalapeno. Don't do that. Start with a base layer of that. And if you wanted to use these in equal parts, like a half a cup each or a quarter cup, you're just doing a couple slabs, you'll be fine with that.
Just pressing it in lightly, not rubbing
Pressing it in, not rubbing it.
I want to know this. How long are you going to let this seasoning sit before these ribs are ready to hit the pit? Do we need time?
Believe it or not, in competition, I season about 20 minutes before my ribs go on the grill. On the KCBS side, I mean, same thing, 15, 20 minutes tops, and they're going on the grill.
So just long enough to sweat a little bit?
Just long enough to sweat a little bit. And you know, if you want to go on there immediately right now, you can. It's no big deal. I can't tell a huge difference at all letting them set out an hour or letting them set out 15 minutes.
So we're going to come right out of the cooler. You don't have to let them come to room temp, hit them with the seasoning. By the time your grill's up to temp, they're ready to go on 15, 20 minutes. So Heath, we're going to be using my Traeger grill today. I know you cook on Traegers all the time. What kind of pellets do you like to use for ribs?
I like blending the hickory and cherry together, mixing them up and putting them in the basket. I mean, that's just what I prefer. I love cherry smoke, absolutely love it, but I think barbecue is so traditional that you have to have a little bit of that hickory incorporated in it.
So we've got it running about 275. That's where you want to cook ribs today. It's up to speed. Let's grab these ribs and get them on the pit.
Now also what I like to do when I put them on, I like to take and bunch those ribs up and get the bones kind of straight on them. Even if you've got a slab running at a little bit of a curve, once you bunch them up, you can you see how it made those bones straighter there? Once I bunch that rib up, however you set that rib is however it's gonna cook. You can get more meat in between the bones, what a judge wants if you squunch them up like that.
Gotcha. We got it at 275. We doing anything before we wrap them or what?
I don't touch ribs. I leave them on, let them go 2.5 hours on the Traeger, just enough till the rub sticks really well and on the meat good. and I do what I call a smear test. When I can take my finger and wipe that rib and no rub comes off and it's stuck to it, I know it's time to be wrapped.
So we're gonna watch these ribs a couple hours. We'll come back, we'll show y'all what they look like as they cook. So Heath, we're about, what, an hour and 45 in? What do you think, man?
I think they look really good. You could go ahead and wrap them. When you can touch it and you're not getting very much off of it, those are really close. I'd say we probably need to give it about another 20 minutes or so. 20, 25 minutes, and I think we'll be fine.
They look good, man. We've got a beautiful bark on them. I like that color that the rubs gave them.
Ribs have been on about 2 hours and 20 minutes. You can see they got great color. They're perfect where they need to be wrapped at.
They're sweating a little bit, but I see what you mean, how the rub is kind of tightened up everywhere on them. You're not going to lose that layer of seasoning.
They got a little bit of bend to them, about where they need to be. Perfect.
All right, Heath, so what are we going to put in this wrap? I know you got your full out here.
All right, I'm gonna layer of my honey rub down, a little bit of it. And so what I've did, a lot of people wrap with honey, brown sugar, butter, and a little bit of spices, right?
Standard
So
stuff.
I developed a product with dried butter, granulated sugar, honey granules, and some spices. And I mix them up in blender with apple juice. Makes it really simple, really easy. You can make it in advance.
So you're taking all that butter, the brown sugar, the honey, it's just in powdered form.
Now, when I lay this rib down here, I always like to pick, if there's any big black where blood's come out of the bones, kind of pick some of that off. But other than that, you can see that thing is pretty much where it needs to be. And I lay a little more honey rub on the back, take and do 3/4 of a cup, kind of pour it on. And I just pour it on the back because you're always gonna get some run over on the bottom, right? And I've double layered the foil here, just come over with it.
But double layer, I do the double layer too because it helps with those bones start
Poking through, and they don't poke through the foil. It makes it really simple, really easy.
Now we're ready to go right back on the Traeger.
I'm ready to go right back on there.
275, hold that temp steady.
275 we're gonna check them in an hour.
1 hour.
1 hour we'll check them for tenderness. And we'll check them with a Thermopin, and I'll show you about that, how I do that.
So Heath, the rib's been on about 50 minutes and you want to get your glaze ready. What are we glazing with today?
I'm gonna mix my sauces 2-to-1 ratio. 1 part my vinegar and 2 parts my sweet sauce is what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna start off, since we don't have but a couple slabs, I'm gonna do about 4 ounces of my vinegar sauce. And I'm gonna come back with about 8 ounces.
And you just mix it up like this day of contest, or?
Yep, I do. I have some bottles with measuring lines on it, and I just pour and fill them up. And you know, if you wanna add a little more sweetness to it, you can always add honey, or spicy honey or whatever. And depending on where I'm at in the country, I may use a little bit of honey. Get you a nip of that?
Yeah, I'll try it, I ain't scared. That's got a good balance. You get the sweetness, but you get a little bit of the tanginess from the vinegar. And it thins it down because the vinegar sauce is a little runnier. So it kind of, for a glaze, that's perfect. It's not too thick.
You just want just a good, light, even coat on it.
So we're an hour in, Heath. We're gonna check these ribs, see what they're like.
We're gonna check them. I actually take my ribs and I check them with a Thermopin. What I wanna do is unwrap them and get in here, and you can see that the bones are starting to pull through on the ends. And so this rack's reading about 196 is what it's saying to the bevel of a Thermopin, 198. And so we know we need to go a little bit further. I check them in an hour, but sometimes they're ready and sometimes they're not.
So what temp would you be looking for? What do you want?
I mean, me personally, I'm looking for that 206, 207. And so this rack right here is actually done, but this big rack's not.
So we want to pull one off?
Yeah, let's pull it off and get it rested, and we can cover it up with something. If not, it's gonna be too tender. But we'll let this rack stay on here and finish cooking.
So I'm gonna set another timer about 20 minutes and we'll check them again. All right, Heath, so both ribs is ready?
Both of them's hit between 204 and 208, 209. That's kind of what I'm looking for. You always want to make sure, the reason we cook at 275 is to break down the collagens and the fibers and stuff in these heritage breed hogs. You cook low and slow, it don't seem like you're going to have the proper competition bite, what you're looking for. And so unwrapping them, you can see how that butter bath has really solved in there. And I always like to take and lean them up a little bit and drain some of that stuff off the back. And that's when I come in, and I always like to take a little bit more of my rub and just kind of put a little bit on the back of there.
Then you're just brushing that glaze right on.
Just brushing that glaze right on. And I'm gonna take and flip this out. And you can see the nice color that rib has got from the dry rubs and from the butter bath. All right, what I always do is leave that side. I don't glaze it yet till I get the backs of both of them kind of done. And you can kind of see what I was talking about, the big bones start busting through on one side or another.
That's kind of a telltale sign for me on ribs too. A lot of times I don't check them with the Thermopin. I'll just look for that disintegration, look for all that good drawback, and you can actually wiggle those bones. I mean, they kind of got all kinds of thermometers in them that tell you when ribs are done. But those really rendered. I mean, you talk about perfect pullback. The
Perfect
tips
color.
of those bones, I mean, that's beautiful.
Now, let's come in and put a little more of that sweet barbecue rub down. And this is just really to help with the competition color and a little bit more of a flavor pop on the back end.
Now, do you heat your sauces up when you use them glaze, or do you just come on?
Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. For just eating at home, I don't. For competition, I do. The only competition we're in is to see who's going to get the first bite of this rib today.
Hey, that's going to be me, man.
All right, now pretty much all that we're going to do is put them back on the smoker and let it tack that glaze up.
Leaving them on the rack.
Leave them on the rack in the pan, not to make a mess.
How long are we looking at?
15 minutes, up in that time frame.
So Heath glazed them for 15 minutes, and this is when they turn into magic, right?
This is when they turn into magic. And you can see I can kind of take the slicer knife here and kind of maneuver them around so you're not burning up your hands real hot or anything else.
I broke out that new Dahlstrom slicer. I wanted to see how it cut. I'm gonna let you be the first one to cut
Well,
something
it's
with
got really good balance so far, I will tell you that.
I mean, these ribs, the glaze on them set perfect. I mean, you can see the rub, you can see the spices in them, but they got that pretty candy apple red shellac look to them. That's what I want to see in a rib. I mean, appearance scores, I mean, that's got to be through the roof on a rib like that.
Through the roof. The only thing that I would do, honestly, when I get ready to build a blind box, I would take a Q-tip, because I'm pretty bad, and clean up the bones where it wouldn't have any sauce on them whatsoever.
Oh,
when I put them
really?
in a blind box. You know, but that's an appearance score for a barbecue judge. Just eating at home, this is perfect.
Yeah, so pick up a slab, man. Show them to me. What you working with? They gonna break up or what? We're gonna be able to handle them?
No, you should be able to pick a rib up, and that's the way I do it for competition. You should be able to make it wave at you, no problem. And you know, you can even turn that thing sideways whatsoever, and I bet you it has bite through. These are cutting so good.
It's that new knife.
This new knife is making it easy, man.
That Dahlstrom running right through them. So in a comp, how many rib slabs are you cooking? 4, or do you cook more than that?
4 to 6, depending on the size of the comp. I mean, it all depends on the size of the comp.
KCBS, you're cooking St. Louis, and you're going 4 to 6.
I am. That moisture right there in these Cheshire ribs are perfect. Go ahead and pick that one up, Mal.
So this was mine. I get to come around on this side. Oh,
We got a test for that bite.
yeah. You ready?
Ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Man. I hear you, big dog. That's a rib right there.
And I could pick it up and wiggle it, but I could still tear that completely off the bone.
Dang. I mean, check it out. Bone's clean. That's perfect. The bite was there. These ribs are juicy. That butter bath, it gave some flavor to them. You know, you still get a really rich.
You get that from the butter and the brown sugar in it. It helps hydrate them, helps them stay moist. The key to the butter bath is you have to let the rub stick to the rib. What we did, that 2 hours and 20 minutes on the grill, and I couldn't smear it off, that's the key to it. You see the color that it had beforehand, before I sauced it, and then you see the little bit of rub on it and a little bit of barbecue sauce, the color that it has. That's a competition-worthy rib all day long.
All day long. I mean, they got the color, they got the appearance. You know, the rubs and the sauce did that. Texture's there, they're bite through. Flavor is through the roof. That's where it's at. That's all about flavor right there.
Flavor and tenderness wins contests. You got to have the flavor. You got to edge the next guy out. And you know, I always tell a barbecue judge, you're looking for that 5 to 7 minute bone turn, right? When you can pull that bone out and it's all the way white, it means it's overcooked. Well, these bones are not. They're just now starting to speckle up. And the longer we let them sit there, the more they're going to speckle up.
Clean as they can be.
Clean as they can be.
Hey, you could take those, turn them into a necklace, right?
That's it.
Well, Heath, man, I appreciate you coming out today, sharing this recipe with me. I feel like I learned something. I know everybody out there is. Well, thanks for checking out our video today, Heath. Thanks for coming out. Man, where can they find you?
At Heath Rouse Barbecue on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter.
Follow your adventures.
Follow my ventures. And a lot of times we're right there together.
Yeah, that's right.
What
Hey,
makes it so great.
well, hey, you know, y'all can find me, How to Barbecue Right, everything, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We got a new app where you can watch these videos on too. Subscribe to the channel if you want to know when we're putting out new videos. We're going to be putting out stuff all the time. We'll see y'all next time.